Now let's bring in a guest who unfortunately has first-hand experience of being trapped. We can speak to Stephen Thomas. He's still a miner, and when he began mining in 1985 in South Africa, he was trapped. Stephen, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
Just tell us what happened to you.
In a deep mine on the Wits section of South Africa mining, we're about 2.2 kilometers down. There was a seismic activity on one of the stope faces, and a fairly substantial rockfall collapsed around us, and there was a few of us left in a very small room. It was about 10 meters long by about 1 meter high, and fortunately we were only trapped for 48 hours. We certainly weren't trapped for the length of these, the guys down there now. Although 48 hours still feels a very long time when you're trapped in a confined space.
I was going to say, the word fortunate doesn't spring to mind when it comes to being trapped for 48 hours. We posted on our Facebook page and blog that you were coming onto the programme. Stanley in Kenya has a question for you. He says, what's the first thing that came into your mind the moment you realised that you were trapped?
Well, the first thing was anything else going to happen? Obviously, there's a little bit of panic that the rest of the rockfall around you is going to carry on. But once that sort of stabilizes, the first thing you think about is, who's around you, everybody that is with you, are they okay? Who isn't okay? And then I guess as time goes on, you do become very religious.
You become religious. Did you become more religious as a consequence of being trapped?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's interesting. And Dan, it's also interesting the number of our viewers and listeners on BBC World Service Radio who talk about a miner's state of mind. Is that something we can say actually exists? Dan in Chicago, what's your view on that?
I would suggest that there is a certain type of person who is willing to do this kind of work. And if that constitutes a miner's state of mind, I would suggest that that's probably the case. These people accept these kinds of hazards and understand that these are possibilities, and they're willing to work in these under these rather serious conditions nonetheless.
Alan, what's your view of this? You grew up in Cornwall in the southwest of England in the 19th century. It was famed for its mining, not so much anymore, but can you talk about a miner's state of mind?
In the mining industry, when you're working in the environments that are being described, you're deep in the mines, you're up to 10,000 feet deep, you build up a great brotherhood of the mining people, and you'll do anything for anybody that's in a mine, particularly in a perilous situation, such as we're encountering now in Chile. And all differences are forgotten. You do everything for each other. There's no sort of individual priorities. You just work for everybody and for the best for everybody.
And here, have you been struck? Alan's talking there about people pulling together in this particular situation, but others might think that 33 men in a small area might well start forming cliques, might start arguing with each other. Why do you think that hasn't happened?
Well, at the moment, they're all joined by a joint goal of actually overcoming this adversity. They had good news over the past couple of days. They've got food, they've got a medicine, they've got now a video camera, so it's sort of like it's important to continue this encouragement throughout.
They also had some bad news, though, didn't they, which is they're not getting out. They only found that out yesterday. Well,
in comparison, that they didn't know what is the situation, I think this is also could be playing on their mind and weighing the situation whether they don't know anything at all, and the possibility of rescue is still there, and they're mounting the operation, they're bringing more equipment, so all of this is actually encouraging news, and they should maintain these little surprises that come to them so they could look sort of forward to them.
If you're just joining us, this is World Have Your Say. We're, of course, talking about the Chile mine rescue that is underway. It may not finish until Christmas, the authorities say. And all week long, you've been getting in touch with the BBC on radio, online and on television, talking about this and asking lots of questions. You can get in touch through our Facebook page. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do that as well. Twitter.com/BBC_WHYS. You're, of course, also very welcome to phone us up because we're live. Country code 44 2070 83 72 72. Let's go back to Chile, to a town called Osorno in southern Chile, and Carmen is on the phone. Carmen, what's been your reaction as your whole country has started to follow the ordeal of these men?
Well, The first reaction was sad, concern. When we didn't know if they were alive or dead, that was the first 17 days. But after we knew that they were fine, we all along the country felt happy, joyful. And even in Santiago, people went out to the streets to celebrate this. There's a square in Santiago, Plaza Italia, where people go to celebrate sportive triumphs. And that day, they went out with sounding their car horns and even with vuvuzelas to celebrate the news.
Carmen, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us from Chile. It's fascinating actually hear Carmen describing that, Stephen, because these miners must now be aware they're at the centre of a huge media storm and of huge national interest. Was that a concern of yours when you came out, that you weren't just dealing with having been trapped, you had to deal with all this attention as well?
It's not really. If anything, it's actually a good thing for the guys trapped underground, because, you know, it's something for them to talk about. It's you know, it's new and it's encouraging. The fact that they've been told how long it's going to take, I think, is also very encouraging for them. You know, they are miners. They do know what a rate of advance is. They do know what it takes to get development down. So I think the more the publicity is for them, the more they sort of hearing about it, it'll keep them going. You know, and for us in South Africa on the mines, it wasn't quite as well publicized. It wasn't a major event as in this one. But still, you feel, you and the guys that you're with, you build up a very, very tight relationship, which obviously will be there for the rest of your lives. And, you know, as long as everybody keeps it together, it's actually a good thing.
Stephen, you're in Barberton in South Africa. We have Alan and Iya live with us in the BBC World News studio, and Dan is with us in Chicago. Matt is a listener to World Have Your Say on WFYI in Indianapolis on the BBC World Service. He emailed us yesterday to say, what will they do about the human waste? And it has to be said, Matt's not the only person to ask about this. Stephen, how will they deal with the basics of going to the toilet in such confined areas?
It's not easy. But, you know, I think on one of the previous conversations we had with Todd and Grant from Tasmania, you know, what goes in comes out. So if not a lot has gone in, not a lot's going to come out. Although for a period of 3 to 4 months it's going to be difficult. However, I mean, if they are well organized and they send down sanitation bags, packets, self-sealing packets, you eliminate the risk. The only problem they have is the discomfort of having to do it publicly. But really, men underground, you'll get over it. You've got to do what you've got to do.
You say men will get over it in those situations, but Dan Beecher, this is a serious issue, isn't it? Because it's these kind of things like not having the privacy to go to the bathroom that can undermine how someone feels.
Well, certainly that's the case, but I would be more concerned with maintaining general morale. This is going to be a series of adverse experiences. There's no doubt about that, and we're not going to be able to protect them from all of it. What we're going to need to be concentrating on most clearly is maintaining morale and preventing feelings of despair. And there's a number of things that we've learned from historical precedents that can help us along those lines.